Liverpool get away from Selhurst Park and therefore Crystal Palace with a 2-1 away win. A lot to unpack from this game, so I'm going to get straight into it in just a second. Liverpool being box office helps and doesn't help. Liverpool going down and then coming back helps and doesn't help. There are multiple reasons why, and even though Liverpool have kicked off at so many 12:30 games this season, which and of the run of times that other teams have had it twice, Liverpool have had it 8 times in that time. It comes with being one of the big sides in the league, right? It comes with being one of the sides that the Premier League want to use to market you globally. And when it's out there in the driving wind, and it really was very windy today. As I was walking into my office, there was wind just sweeping across the road, and you kind of felt it catch you every now and again, which means if it's going to catch me, it's going to catch the ball. Makes it a little bit more difficult for Liverpool to play their kind of match, and makes it a little bit easier in a way for Crystal Palace to play theirs, though you could make that argument either way. This was a game of two halves. This was a game of changes from both actually Hodgson and Virgil van Dijk and Klopp. But at the same time, this was a game where, honestly, I felt slightly like the rotation within the Liverpool team didn't quite cope well with what Palace threw at them. This was the way the TV laid it out, right? These aren't my ratings, by the way. When you look at that front line, obviously that's probably one of my most preferred front lines. But the rotation away from that front line actually changed this game. Then in the midfield, you've got Ryan Gravenberch, you've got Endo, you've got Szoboszlai. That's a brand new midfield this season. And I feel that in the first half, it kind of ceded a lot of what Crystal Palace wanted to Crystal Palace. And then that back line, I don't feel uncomfortable about it. I actually quite like Joel Quansah. I mean, when I say quite like, I really rate Joel Quansah. Clearly Klopp does as well. But it wasn't so much the defensive aspect of the game that Joel got taken off for. It was more a tactical tweak that maybe someone like Joel just isn't the same kind of player for. And he needs to cede control sometimes to Virgil. Whereas if we've got an experienced centre-back in there like either Joe Gomez or, Ibrahim Konate is experienced even though he's still quite young, then you end up with a change in the way that Liverpool can play the ball out wide and just a slightly more confident centre-back who's maybe just a little bit more aggressive and on the front foot than Quansah is, though I still think Quansah brings that. And then you got Alisson. Obviously, I feel amazing about having Alisson back. It seemed like just a couple of weeks ago we were saying he wouldn't be back until the United game, and even then we'd be pushing it. So anyway, that was the TV formation. This was how they actually laid out, right? Liverpool looking fairly dominant. Quansah, Van Dijk, pretty good distribution between the two of them, and then the same for someone like Kostas Tsimikas as well. That's basically a back three, but it's actually a back two. And then someone like Endo just drops a little bit deeper. But there were times where I think Endo, Trent, and Kostas Tsimikas got caught down the field, and the same even actually with the two other midfielders. There were multiple times where, if you look at the average positions here, Roy was trying to exploit this part of the field. He was trying to get his players into there so they could drive into this area and put Liverpool on the back foot, because they knew that driving at Quansah and driving just behind Endo would do that. It worked particularly well. I thought Will Hughes was actually really good in this game. I think a number of the midfielders for Palace, especially if you look at how they started, were very defensive but able to turn the ball around very quickly. Hughes, Richards and Lerma, all players who love to get forward and bring the ball forward at the same time as tackling really high up, being able to put pressure on that Liverpool midfield. And Liverpool never really settled. They also knew, and I think it's been something that I kind of picked out quite early on in the season, but it became very evident to me just a couple of weeks ago, Liverpool cede possession in the midfield quite easily if you just put quite a light tackle on them. So McAllister can go down quite easily, Endo goes down quite easily. I don't know if that's so much a player attribute as something that Liverpool players get told to do. Now, obviously, that resulted in the potential penalty kick. It wasn't even a free kick in the first half when Will Hughes, I think it was, knocked over Endo. Endo had his leg hooked. I think it was a foul. I'm pretty certain it was a foul. And the ball goes forward, they get a penalty. Now, what I find interesting about some of the coverage of this, and also kind of in both camps here for Liverpool and for Palace, is that they talk about how long it takes. First of all, I don't think it needed to take that long. It seemed like quite an evident foul in the first place. I always think, I guess if you're going to check for a penalty and you want to know whether it's going to be a penalty, you might not go through the rest of it. I don't think it was a penalty, but clearly they did. I did think it was a penalty, but I didn't think it was a penalty. Clearly, they thought it was better to go the other way rather than go that way. It was clearly a penalty. It was clearly a foul. They didn't get the ball. But what I mean is it wasn't a penalty because the original tackle went in. Now, stick with me here, right? It took that amount of time, and I'm sort of okay with that. But the way they then spoke about it was as if Palace had been denied a penalty in some sort of legitimate way. Whereas actually, if you think about it, Liverpool are trying to suck some of the pressure onto them. They want Palace to come forward, try and make those tackles to create that space. So really that's playing into Liverpool's hands at that point. The analysis was really poor. And I think some of the opining that I heard on the TV, I wasn't particularly impressed with. There was some good banter, but I didn't think it was good opining. Having said that, I do think overall the aggressive approach from Palace worked in that first half. And Klopp clearly had to make a sub because the best player in the first half was this guy for making a world-class save at his near post. The best defender was this guy. And I think Watu Endo was kind of struggling to keep up, or at least keep up with the physicality of the game. And it kind of set the second half up quite well. You can clearly see the difference between these two formations. Look at that. Palace are trying to put the emphasis here. Liverpool also trying to pack a similar area. And Liverpool hate playing Roy Hodgson. I don't like him as manager. I love to see him fume. So this game is perfect for me. On top of that, again, the 12:30, Liverpool seem to have a bit of a thing about the 12:30 thing. And they, at the moment, I don't even think it's just 12:30 games. Liverpool are struggling to get into games in general. We saw it a week ago. We saw it the week before that. And even Mo Salah referenced it himself. We've had to come back multiple times now. But let's get on to Mo Salah and the rest of those guys, the guys who changed the game for Liverpool in the second half. It was Mo, it was Cody Gakpo, it was Gomez. When Gomez came on, I felt like Liverpool's shape changed. I felt like it looked a lot more confident. I felt like Trent looked a lot more confident going forward. I appreciated what the other defenders were trying to do, but I think Joe Gomez has brought a real assuredness to this Liverpool backline this season. He deserves real credit. First of all, it's for bombing on down that side, looking really light-footed, looking like he's got the ability to go past a player, so he's not just another body in that part of the field. And also, when his passing ability is, I think it's a good passing ability for someone who's a right centre-back. It's good vision. Very often his hookup play is really good. Very often his interchange is really good with the other players, with the likes of Salah, with the likes of Trent. He knows where to emphasise, and I think he could drop a shoulder and go past someone now. I love watching Joe Gomez, and I'll admit I was one of those people who thought, where does he fit in? Is he going to play regularly? Clearly, in Klopp's mind, and the plan that Klopp laid out with someone like Joe Gomez was, you'll be a right-sided centre-back backup, but you'll be a right-back backup. And you'll get a lot more opportunities as someone like Trent transitions more and more into the double pivot /6 deeper area. I think Trent's best at deep, even though obviously he's done a lot of great things further down the field, right? This guy also deserves a lot of credit. Cody Gakpo has been, I think, one of Liverpool's star changes this season, one of the star turns. When he comes on the field, it's clear where Liverpool want him to play right now. They want him to get a little bit deeper. He's very good at winning free kicks, but he's also very good at just riding tackles, almost surfing them, getting through the little bit of space that's got just behind those tackles, and then distributing the ball out. If it wasn't for him, I don't think we score the goal. I haven't put the other guy who it wasn't for him, I didn't score the goal. It was Curtis Jones in the second half. But I think the layoff, the play, and the pushing from Liverpool in that time was really key. Let's get on to that first goal? Yeah, the first goal for Liverpool, right? The other guy who changed this half was this guy. This guy embodies everything that Palace try to do. They try to get under your skin, they try to be annoying, they try to get cheap fouls in, they try to do things which are really frustrating, stay down for ages, the kind of things that you just don't want to play against if you're Liverpool and you're down or you're trying to get the goal initially. Because to Liverpool, being at 0-0 is the same virtually at being 1-0 down, right? It's no good for us. So when he plays and he's doing cheap things like getting in front of the free kick, like giving away cheap fouls, I personally see where the ref sent him off, but at the same time I understand his frustration and Palace fans' frustration. But it's what Palace do, and it's no more than they deserve for him to get a red card in that half. I hate to talk about teams deserving things, but with this style of play, it's no more than Palace deserve for that. But it's not particularly Palace, Roy Hodgson and his team. They have to be pragmatic. They have to play Liverpool in a way that's going to make it frustrating and horrible to play. Sometimes that gets pushed over the edge, and that's the whole point of Liverpool having control and then Palace needing to get it back. Palace needing to try and break up Liverpool's play. That's the style of football that we see here. Hodgson could choose to play another style, but he knows why he plays Ayew. He knows why he plays these kind of guys. So when people say, oh, it was an unjust red card, I don't particularly think it was a red card. You could kind of see it coming in time for someone like Ayew. He plays right on the line for most of the game. But even then, the reason Liverpool got their first goal was nothing to do with Ayew getting sent off. I mean, maybe it was in terms of the flow of play, the confidence of the Palace players, all these kind of things. But Don't come to me with, oh, someone like Ayew would have changed the particular chance that Liverpool created, where Curtis Jones cuts it back, Salah has quite an easy finish, and obviously it rebounds off someone, goes past the goalkeeper, and we see then Liverpool basically kick into dominance mode. I don't think Ayew particularly changes that. I think Liverpool in those last few minutes would have done that anyway. I'm kind of bored of seeing people talk as if Liverpool are always the dominant team and, the opposition just always deserve every chance to go their way. You can see this was a dominant Liverpool team, but what Palace done particularly well was shackle him, and shackle him on the field. This Liverpool line is normally a bit more like that. And these midfielders, very often, are more like that. So show me the second. Look at the subs that Klopp makes, right? They're more progressed, they're more clustered because they're doing complex passing movements, and they're clearly in two support structures. I often draw lines down the field like this, like that, and like that. Because Liverpool break between those different lines, right? Now, a lot of people say don't use these average positions. I think it shows where Liverpool play much better than it does than, say, just laying out a random formation. I could try and move these pieces around, and broadly, I think, you can do a bit of annotation. Konate comes over here, covers this area, but broadly, Joe Gomez comes back. The play works up quite nicely. I think Trent actually just basically covers this area. What's been amazing to see is Liverpool almost evacuate that part of midfield that almost you'd think needs to have someone in there to anchor it and put all the players out here. I wonder if that makes Liverpool quite easy to play against, or if another manager's going to try to exploit that. Maybe a Pep to put someone in here to make it a bit more difficult for someone like Trent. Maybe someone puts two players in here and it pushes Liverpool further back down the field, not allowing them to do what they needed to do, but at the same time, making space for someone like Harvey Elliot, right? They flood into this space, Harvey Elliot gets in behind, and then Liverpool flood into this space. There's a gap made between their back line, which is, hold on, basically their back line then sits there, their midfield sits there. There's a big gap here for Harvey Elliot to run into when they try and flood this area and put pressure on Liverpool. And overall, Liverpool then exploit the opposition and go, right, you've made space for us, we're going to get into it. Is Klopp playing the odds? It's classic Klopp football. It doesn't mean that we're playing by a classic style. It means that we're playing by a classic idea and set of deals, which is to be adventurous, which is to be Liverpool, which is to be box office. There's a reason people globally tune in to see a Jurgen Klopp side. It's because of these kind of risks that Liverpool take. It's because when he brings on another set of players, your Curtis Joneses, your Harvey Elliots, your Cody Gakpos, even Joe Gomez, even Konate, four of those are brave substitutions, right? I saw actually in the subs beforehand, I don't think I had McAllister on the bench. I think he was wondering how Liverpool were going to change things. Very often I look at what could be a second unit for Liverpool. When you look at that starting 11, go and look at what Liverpool's second unit could be. The way that Klopp will change the shape, the way that Klopp will change control. Obviously, a lot of that relies on, have Liverpool played well? Are they in the ascendancy? Are they not? But people talk about Liverpool being able to come back and then being down. It's not so much the focus of them being down, it's that if Klopp needs it, he's got the ability. Now, we can talk about whether that is a good thing or a bad thing. It was a brilliant individual goal from this guy, Harvey Elliot. You can see what it means to all the Liverpool players. You saw Salah run over, you saw Verge run over. I think, who else did you see? I can't remember who it was that was in the huddle, but you could see how happy they were for him. Look at him. He had that look down the lens. You could see that Liverpool have got faith in this kid. Lots of people ask, and lots of people have asked for years, what is it that Harvey Elliot does? I think for a while he was asked to be a square peg in a round hole. He was asked to fit into a shape that wasn't the shape that favoured Harvey overall. Liverpool was sitting two players like Henderson and Fabinho, and then asking a Fabio Carvalho and an Elliot to be playmakers in a way that maybe they weren't quite ready to be, but also the side didn't have the shape to be ready to be. Now you've got roamers. Now you've got people who sit there and do incredible things, and you end up with great moments like this and this. Because Harvey Elliot is a special young player who, when given space, when given an MO, slots in exactly here and runs into this space. Multiple times he drove into that space. If it's not Gakpo, it's Harvey Elliot. If it's not Joe Gomez making space and dropping a little shoulder, then coming in here and putting a ball in back there, which, by the way, Liverpool tried to do a lot. I explained that a lot in my last video, where Liverpool use a Gakpo and a Diaz to push their back line back to about here, and then they flood these areas. You see Liverpool running into them, and guess what? They score a lot of goals from this area because, exactly as other managers are trying to do, that is a key area on the field where you can go and finish. You've got a big sight of the goal, you've got loads of space to shoot through, and if they can't get a man to you quick because they have to have a deep back line, you exploit that. Now, there's two other performances I want to talk about because you would probably identify this as Liverpool's sitting midfield position, right? Which is these two guys. Trent was great in this game. I actually thought you see that amount of creativity, you see him drift over here, you see him drift over here, and you see him drift here. There are like three different kind of set positions that Trent picks the ball up in, if you like. And there's kind of one here as well, but that counts as somewhere between the two. Then the way that he just gracefully distributes and gets the ball back, I love. I think he's a great player in that sense. I love when Liverpool take the pressure off him when he isn't necessarily the focal point for this side, and Liverpool treat him as part of a bigger system. It allows people like Curtis Jones to be better. It allows people like Elliot, like Gakpo, even like Szoboszlai, who takes a lot of the pressure off someone like Trent, to be better players, right? So I think it's worth just acknowledging how Klopp has fostered a balance in the midfield now that I just think we clearly didn't have before, because I don't think we quite had the players to be able to enact it. But at the same time, I think we didn't quite have the tactical balance to be able to make it as pressured on the opposition as possible. We found it towards the end of last season, or a blueprint as to what we could then build on. And this is, it's not even Liverpool 2.0, this is Liverpool 4.0 under Klopp. 1.0 is when he first took over to the end of that season. 2.0 is kind of the first version of that side that went to the Champions League final. 3.0 is the one that was so dominant in that second era. Actually, that could be 3.0, and you could argue this is 5.0 because we then had Thiago and lots of other players come in. Calling it Liverpool 2.0 is lazy to me. This is Liverpool 5.0, let's say. And I'm bored of the people just not thinking back, right? It doesn't make any sense to me to say this is Liverpool 2.0. It's good marketing, mind. The point is, and Salah acknowledged it himself, there's 6 or 7 players within this team now that weren't previously prominent. And look at how many of them are those players. You've got Tsimikas, who obviously is a backup for Andy Robertson, apparently coming back soon. Him, not him, possibly him. That's the subs. And then look at, him. That's 8-9 players I can ring and basically say, you are a new version of this Liverpool team now. So there's a lot of impressive things going on within the rebuild of this Liverpool team. I just think a lot of people are kind of overlooking a lot of things. And I think it's broadly a good side. It's just that there are times where they're very open. There are times where they do rely on Alisson. I love that Alisson's back. Definitely changes things for Liverpool. I do think that if it wasn't Alisson in goal, Liverpool would be 1, maybe 2-0 down. I'm not saying Kelleher's a bad goalkeeper, but you get totally what I'm saying. And I think overall, there are times where obviously you have to sacrifice some things on the pitch for the other side. I don't think Liverpool need to make such sacrifices if they are on the ball and they're on it from the time the whistle goes to the time the whistle goes again at the end of the game. I think broadly, it's about turning on at the right time, not turning off at the right time, and Liverpool need to concentrate more on that. Liverpool need to have that intensity. I think at the moment they feel like they're coasting a little bit, or maybe, I want to know what it is. It's not paying respect to the opposition, but it's not quite there yet, is it? I'd love to know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments below, and I will chat to you again right here on the Laurence McKenna channel again in a little while. If you haven't already hit subscribe, hit it. There is a Liverpool channel, which I will be starting very soon, mid-December-ish. And I'll be giving away, I don't have Liverpool shirts here, they're there on the floor. Let me know what you thought of the game. I'm thinking of setting up a Discord. What do you guys think? Maybe a Discord. You can throw some of your tactical ideas in there. We can mention some things in the video. Kind of like it. It's a good way for us to make a little community around here. Really appreciate you guys. Chat to you in a little while. Much love. Bye.